15 grand. 15 grand, guys. I could have paid less, but I wanted to do it in style to let you know players like me from the hood, the streets of Miami, we can do it just like anyone else in the world could do it.
All right, guys, it's your boy Andre Love Crossing Borders. When it comes to experiences of travel, well, there are very few people in the world that can actually say they've traveled as much as the man that we're going to be interviewing today. We got the one, the only, my brother, my friend, Ace, live on our Love Crossing Borders channel. First thing we need for you guys to do is subscribe. Click that like button. You know, I like you, you like me too. Make sure you put a comment in regards to this video. It's going to be a 2-part, if not a 3-part mini series like old school ABC. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys get as much information in regards to this particular interview as possible. So without further ado, we talk about the man that has done it all from day one, the one that introduced me to this whole world of travel and vlogging, Mr. Ace Live. How you doing today, Ace?
I'm doing really good today, man, and shout out to you for giving me that introduction, man. But for the viewers who are watching now, guys, he used the word day one. He's actually been there since day one, since the beginning of my travels. And let me just make this clear, guys. There's been several people who have impacted the way I've traveled. This guy right here is one of the guys. He was, I think, my very first Patreon, unofficially. He would send me money, $30 a day. I wasn't working, not $30 a day. I wish it was like that, $30 a month. And I would look out for those $30 every month. And it really helped me get through some hard times, and which helped me get to where I'm at now. So I'm always forever grateful for what you've done to help me out, to get me to where we at now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I feel the same way. I feel the same way, man. From you sitting on the couch with me and Andrea, and we having some beers and just talking about, hey, you guys need a YouTube channel. And we looking crazy at you, like, what the hell is he talking about? And man, do you know how many people would love to see a brother from the States would fall in love in another country, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what are we gonna call it? And you start throwing out some names like, I don't know, International Love, find love in other countries, or love crossing borders. Like, wait, what's that you just said? Love crossing borders. So for all of you that wonder where the name Love Crossing Borders came from, this man right here, right there, that dude right there was the one that came up with the title Love Crossing Borders, and we just took it from there. And I appreciate you more than you realize, Ace, man. You actually life-changing, man.
Let me tell you, we throwing flowers at each other, right? You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to say, there are times where I'm feeling low, or I feel like I need some direction. I will call this guy up, and we'll be over the phone going over a lot of different topics. And just not for nothing, if you are watching this channel, I want you to pay attention to what this man says and look at other content he has on this channel. So, just to see if you would really like his content, and subscribe if you like his content, because he's very knowledgeable about a lot of different things, and he can give you a lot of clarity, and depending in all circles of your life, you know what I mean? So check him out, man.
All right. I appreciate that. Let's get started with this interview, because you just got back from being, actually, if I'm not mistaken, the first African-American / Black YouTuber to actually go to the Antarctic, or Antarctica. How would I pronounce it correctly?
The Antarctica. And so I don't know if I'm the first African-American vlogger who ever done it, but it was an amazing experience.
I'm claiming you as the first. Until somebody can put some footage out there in the comment section. Otherwise, I'm claiming you as the first that's down there. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was like a whole big dream, to be honest with you. And I would recommend anybody who has the urge to go, to put the effort in going. I will obviously be talking more in detail about the experiences, but yes, it is worth it. It is worth it without a doubt.
So you started out in Argentina, and what was the first city that you went to in Argentina?
My first city I really got stuck in. Well, so like if you're an American traveler, they'll give you like 3 months to stay in Argentina. So I pretty much got stuck in Buenos Aires. I love Buenos Aires, multicultural city. It's changing a lot from what it has been in the past. I know Argentina has a bad rap amongst certain communities, but you know, I'm glad I went out there and experienced it myself. Regardless of hearing from what other people said, you know, you never know until you experience it yourself. You know, people can tell you about an experience. And so I went to Argentina, had a blast there, and it was a lot of confusion though. This season was a lot of confusion. I didn't know officially if I was going to make it to Antarctica. Originally, my goal was, okay, since I want to go to Antarctica, I might as well see what's up with Argentina. Okay, so Antarctica was the first thing in my mind. Right. But I was taking my time to get there. And the season pretty much is from like late November to late February into March to get into Antarctica. I thought you could just go there whenever you want, but that's not true. You have to go there during its summertime, because that's the only way these ships will be able to go through the blockage of ice. Otherwise, everything is frozen. It's almost impossible to really get on land when it's like that. So you have a small pocket, which is why there's only a small pocket of people that go every year compared to other countries like Thailand. Thailand will have millions of visitors every year. Dominican Republic will have millions of visitors every year. Miami, millions of visitors. Antarctica, we're talking about 40,000 or even less than that, depending on the season. Wow. So, yeah, it's a big deal. So if you get a chance to get in, I guarantee you go. But you can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody, doesn't matter how much, like, where you at financially. If you set your mind to it, you should be able to do it. Because
we've been talking about this journey for you and even for Andre and I for the past couple of years in regards to this Antarctica trip. And
yeah, man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, man. We would always talk about like bucket trips. Me and Andre, we always talk about bucket trips. And so when it got down to it, we're like, yeah, Antarctica, yeah. Let's figure it out. And so last year I was, after being in Colombia, I was in Colombia for over a year last year. And I left in March around this time, and I went to Ecuador, and I was telling myself, you know what? It's time to see if I can make it to Antarctica. So in my head, I set on going there. So I headed south in Ecuador, and the country just traveling south, and I ended up meeting someone who actually went. Right. Who told me, no, I was not going to make it there on time, because by the time I got over there, if I kept going, it would have still been winter time. So I would have to wait to the appropriate time. But he was able to give me like good insight on the experience of what to expect and what I could be paying to go. Right. And so it gave me an idea like, okay, this is something I need to put to the side if I want to make this trip a reality. So. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. We got 3 areas that we're going to talk about in regards to this trip when we first start. We're going to talk about are the steps that need to be taken. Second thing we're going to talk about is the experience or the locations. The second thing and the third thing we're going to talk about is the experience, that how you felt and how you enjoyed it. So those are the 3 things: steps, locations, and experience. The first steps we're going to talk about, we're going to break those into 3. You know me, in categories. First thing is we're going to talk about the 3 C's: cost, clothing, cameras. Cost, clothing, cameras. Those are 3 areas of steps. So let's talk about the cost.
Okay, the cost varies on the experience you want. All right. When you go to Antarctica, they have several different excursions, companies that offer you different experience the more you pay, the more you might get out of that experience. There are prices that can go up to 5 figures, and some are 4 figures. All right, I want to make sure that you have. But if you're on a budget, I most definitely would recommend you preparing for a 4-figure trip. But if you want like a longer trip, more exclusive trip, just be prepared for, you might be paying around 5 figures to get there.
Right.
And when I say 5 figures, it could be around from 10 grand to 20 grand,
Right.
ranging around that much. And it also depends on, are you traveling with somebody, or are you willing to share a bunk room? They do that, so you can share a room with 2-3 other people in one room. Typically, if this is for male and female, if someone books a room first to do the share room and it's a woman, then that room will probably be only for women, unless it's like late in the season and the boat is about to go. They might ask the woman, look, we have this guy, he wants to go on a trip with you. He wants to go on a trip. Is it okay? Can he stay in your cabin? If you say no, then no, he can't go. Say yes, he'll be able to be in the boat as well. So
Okay.
That's one of the costs. So we're talking about 5 to all the way to 20. Me personally, I wanted to do the trip. I wanted to do it VIP. I wanted to experience it VIP. I wanted to show people the experience VIP. And this is a trip I wanted to do for the very long, since I was a child, just going to a place that seemed like was untouchable to go to. It's, for me, This is like the closest thing I'm gonna get to going to the moon. So for me, I said, I'm gonna do the most expensive thing and get the most expensive room. Well, not the most expensive room, but the closest thing to the most expensive room.
Right.
So my room was around 14, close to 15 grand.
Right.
And they were able to upgrade me to the most expensive room because the ship I was in was not packed. So I guess they told them I was a YouTuber, so they were able to give me that extra room, whatnot. But I think they were going to give it to everybody that paid, because there was other people who paid less, around 8 grand, and they upgraded their room to a better room. So stuff like that. That's how it works. It also depends. Right. It also depends on your agency. All right. And we'll talk about how I found my agency, just in case, so to help you out.
Go ahead. Yeah, definitely.
It also depends on your agency, because some agents are going to pay more than others. Okay. For me, everything got real blurry this trip, because I thought I was going to take the trip because of what's happening in the world, all these new regulations and stuff. I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to do the trip, because a lot of the cruises started canceling. And so I kept hearing the word. I kept calling these agencies online, and they said, oh, they canceled this season, I'm in Argentina, and I'm meeting people telling me the season is canceled. So in my head, I'm like, all right, God. In my head, I'm saying, all right, Ace, you won't be able to do this trip this year. It's canceled. Whatever. So on my way to another city in Argentina, I noticed people are going to Ushuaia. Ushuaia is the most southern city in Americas. They say that. And so they call it the end of the world. So I noticed people were catching flights there. I wasn't going there. I was going to another city, and I was asking the people, excuse me, are you going to Antarctica? You have to go to Ushuaia to catch, if you're going on a boat, that's where you go, Ushuaia. Right. So I'm asking people, are they going to Antarctica? And the guy, it was a couple, and they said, yeah, we're going. I said, what? I heard everything was canceled. It's like, they didn't tell us nothing. I was like, what? So in my head, I said, you know what? Online, I'm not going to be able to get the right answer. I need to go to Ushuaia. So I end up, a couple of days later, taking a trip to Ushuaia and just start hitting the streets, looking around, looking for agencies. I found one agent. They offered me a boat. There was like 3 boats going. They offered me a boat, this price, whatnot, and I was sold on it. And they were just gonna do the final touches and hit me up the next day. So cool. On my way back to where I was staying in Ushuaia, I came across another agency. I said, well, let me look in there. And I went in there and they had a better deal for a better boat.
One of the biggest decisions is ship size, and on the Antarctic Peninsula, size does matter. There are 2 main size categories to be aware of: less than 200 passengers or more than 200 passengers. Our recommendation is small expedition vessels with less than 200 guests, because all guests can take part in excursions at multiple locations throughout the day. Whereas on larger vessels with more than 200 guests, they're restricted to just 1 landing a day, and guests often only have 1 opportunity to take part in activities provided. We find that smaller vessels are better because they can access hard-to-reach places on the peninsula, whereas the large ships are not permitted to go. We also find small ships often encourage a more intimate, immersive experience. Ships with more than 200 guests generally a cheaper price, and can often be better for seasickness just given the vessels are physically larger. These 2 factors can mean that over 500 passenger ships are a better option for some travellers, presuming the onshore experience isn't as important to them.
And it was cheaper too. And I was like, oh, okay, so let me go with these people. So there's always going to be this, if anything, there's always going to be a cheaper price, even if for the higher rooms or even for the lower rooms. So I think the best bet is for people who are watching this, if you can get in contact with the agencies that are in Ushuaia, because they will be able to give you the more, I think they'll
boots on the ground numbers.
Yeah. Just look around in that area, you'll get it. So, but if you already did book the trip, it's all good, because I did meet people on the boat who paid more than me and got less than me. So it can be like that too. So
right. Okay.
So cost we're talking about, you could pay from $5,000, right, to all the way to $20,000, and depending on the demand. So this year's coming up is going to be a little bit higher demand because of all the cancellations that did happen. It's going to be another higher demand. So if you are going to plan this trip, don't just get discouraged. Don't get discouraged, but I would start doing research now, okay? Because trust me, you'll be able to do it, but you need to make sure you do your research now.
Okay, cool. So we already talked about the cost. Clothing. I heard that it's cold in Antarctica. There's a rumor out.
If you're not used to, I'm from Miami, and so this trip was very special to me because. Go ahead.
Tell it. Go ahead. I know why.
I've never seen snow before until prior to this trip. And if you've seen the video, or if you haven't seen the video I did, I haven't seen snow before, and that wasn't something I was used to. I'm used to walking out and cold weather being 60 degrees, 50 degrees. So it was cold for me. It was really cold. And so I didn't know what to bring. I already had like 2 different jackets. So I would always wear these 2 different jackets. But your boat, depending on your boat, they'll give you jackets. So this was part of the jacket right here. As a matter of fact, I have the other jacket. Let me get it real quick. Excuse me.
Let's see what you got. Definitely. I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about this particular topic, because just as Ace was saying, for those that want to do an adventure in Antarctica that is outside the norm, you definitely want to finish watching these video series until the end, because it's giving great details.
All right. So you got this layer and then this right here. This is like waterproof and everything. So it's really water resistant. Waterproof, right? And so putting these 2 things can get very hot. So generally, that's all I needed. And then a regular shirt. But some people had extra layers, depending on who you are, But they gave me that. So you'll have that. You're gonna need waterproof pants. All right. Now you can go to Ushuaia if you're in Ushuaia, you can also go through Chile. I forgot to mention, guys, you can also travel through Chile. That's another way of going to Antarctica. If you go to Chile, I think there's cruises you can take, and you can actually fly there. So depending on your package, you can do that. Now,
Right.
I know I'm steering from both experiences. If you fly there, you might have more time on the island. All right, if you fly there, okay, because you fly there, it's like a 3-hour flight. Boom, not on the continent.
Right.
You'll have more time. Now, if you take a cruise, the cruise is going to take at least 3 days to get there. All right, so you need to make sure. So if you are going to take a excursion on a cruise, you want to be okay with how much time you're going to be on the mainland in that area.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that way your cruise is not like done in an instant, like, oh, we're back already. I didn't really feel like I seen Antarctica, you know? So I had took it was like close to, I think it was 14 days, 13-day trip to Antarctica. So it took 3 days to get there. We spent 6 days, close to 7 days in that area and then coming back, you know?
Okay.
So that's how it was. So at least after that 4th day, you might be like, okay, I'm ready to get back. But there's a reason why. There's a reason why you want extra days. To be honest with you, there's a reason why you want extra days. But anyway, so when you're in Ushuaia, right, they have these rental places where you can get waterproof pants, or they sell them there too. But it might be a little bit more expensive. You want to get waterproof, not water resistant. All right, it's very important. Your ship generally will give you the boots. All right,
Okay.
They have these certain protocols because they want to make sure the boots are clean when you go into these islands and continent, because fire hazard, so they manage the boots. That way you ain't stepping on something and dragging it around and everything like that. They manage the boots, so they give you the boots on the trip. So that,
Okay, cool.
and some people got long johns, the long johns. That's that onesie.
Yeah, old school. Yeah, I was raised with long johns.
And then once you got that, you pretty much good. You put the long johns on, and then your waterproof pants and your jacket, you should be good. And oh yeah, something over the head. Oh, gloves. All right, gloves. You want waterproof gloves, all right? They have these waterproof gloves that are flexible. Get those, right? Those are important, right? You want those because you might be doing some zodiac. Somehow your hands get wet. It's not nice. It's nothing nice. It's so cold. Your hands feel so numb. It can take away from the experience of you trying to take pictures or just doing things. So make sure you have. Sometimes you'll be out there when it's snowing, and so all that snow will make your hands all wet and you'll be like this. And I kind of liked it too because I was hanging out with some chicks. And so they kept putting their hand in my pocket, right?
There we go.
You know what I mean? So that was cool. So that was cool. But you want to have, if you want to make sure the experience is pretty good, get those flexible waterproof gloves. I had went in Ushuaia, they sell them there, but they sell them for like $100. You know what I mean? And so you could probably find that in your local sports store for cheaper. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've already talked about the cost. We basically talk about most of the clothing. Now let's talk about the camera gear. Go ahead, take a sip while you while we talk about the different types of cameras that a person may need, because some people may say they want to take their drone with them. Some people may say they want to take the DSLR. Some people may say, well, I want to make sure I got my action GoPro camera or my 360 cameras. And so everybody is saying that they want to have these different experiences, but as you well know from your experience, that is not necessarily how the dream is. How you're playing, it may not work out as you plan. So let's hear about the cameras and how that situation works.
I would say, I have Androids, right? The weirdest thing I'm gonna tell you guys, right? The weirdest thing, Apple phone, just get an Apple, All right, if you're gonna be there, it was the weirdest thing because you're gonna meet so many people. Like I'm gonna tell you why. You're gonna be meeting so much people on the ship, and they're all gonna have special moments, or they might film something with their phone. Now, Apple has a really good camera on it to capture certain events, and so you might want those events. And so with an Apple, it's a lot of drop. They have this program where they just drop files to each other really quick. So most people on the ship had Apples. And so I was like, yo, I want some of the, let me get some of the footage and everything. And you send it on WhatsApp, it's going to be downgraded in quality. And then nobody wants to do the email like, so if you can have an Apple phone, you're pretty good. It'll give you some good clarity. But if you want to make people really feel the trip, I would tell you, invest in a DSLR. Camera, mirrorless camera, because those cameras are really gonna get the right quality of footage you want for the trip. All right, I was using a digital camera and my GoPro, and then I was lucky that the ship has a photographer over there, so there's a lot of footage I was able to use from that to create the story that I'm making. Yeah, it was the fact that I figure if I had a glass camera, I would be able to get a lot more, and not only for pictures, for video as well. So another thing is when you have this equipment, right? You want to make sure you have it on you all the time. So the ship doesn't have a lot of ports, so maybe you want to invest in a lot of maybe an extension cord or something like that, so that way you can always have your batteries charged, or multiple batteries. That way at night you charge everything, and then you have like every time you always have a battery full, and then have the camera on you, because you might be on the ship. Go ahead.
Now with as you said, bring extension cords or something. Do they have when it comes to the charging ports, do they have the US 2-prong, or is it the European prong on the boats when you're trying to charge, or just plug something up?
The particular boat I was in, it had the prong where you use in the United States. I don't know.
Okay, cool. So if you're just plugging up, that's like in the States. Okay, cool.
Same thing like in Colombia. And so they had that one. It might be different depending on the ship you in, but I'm sure they'll have like an adapter for you on the ship. And so, yeah, you'll be on the ship, and then there'll be some whales outside. You want to make sure you're ready to go get those whales, because it'll be, and they gone. You know what I mean? It'll be like that. So it's one of those occasions. So always have your camera on with you. Wide angle lenses, please, if you're gonna do this. This is for novice people. Like, oh yeah, whatever. You want a camera that can shoot wide angle. It really will open up what you're trying to show people, the experience and stuff like that.
Because you can always zoom in during the editing, but you can't zoom out during the editing. So it's better to do the wide. If you get that
wide angle, it'll be perfect for you to capture all the moment. Just get familiar with your equipment. There was like a camera class, right? And during the tour, so they'll have like several seminars for things you can do while you're waiting to go to the next island or part of the continent.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so there'll be like so many seminars to educate you on what you might see. And there was a seminar on photography and video taking and how to use your camera and stuff. But I wouldn't wait for you to meet the people on the boat. That was the boat. That's what they were doing on my boat. But I would just get familiar myself, on how to take videos and pictures with your camera. That way you don't have to wait for that. And there could be some settings that you could just turn on and make your life real easy.